Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this edition of the Tuesday Telecast from the Joyful Path. And I am your host and your only speaker today, Lydia Laurie Bustler. So, hi, it's great to have you all here and watching, and I want to welcome you to the month of October, which here where I live is when it becomes really both bright and subtle. There are so many things happening in October. And the thing is, it can all be washed away at any moment by rain or wind. But it also can be late, which it is right now, and it's just barely starting to get to colors. So that's something that we're known for here in Vermont, for all the different colors and the hills reflecting in the waterways and just the beautiful roads that we can all appreciate. So I am going to start today with a poem by Robert Frost, and the name of that poem is October. And I wrote music to this poem, but I'm just going to read the poem itself. And it goes like this. O hushed October, morning mild, thy leaves have ripened to the fall. Tomorrow's wind, if it be wild, should waste them all. The crows above the forest call. Tomorrow they may form and go. O hushed October, morning mild, begin the hours of this day slow. Make the days seem to us less brief. Hearts not averse to being beguiled, beguile us in the way you know. Release one leaf at break of day. At noon, release another leaf, one from our trees, one far away. Retard the sun with gentle mist, enchant the land with amethyst. Slow, slow. For the grape's sake, if they were all, whose leaves are already burnt with frost, whose clustered fruit must else be lost, for the grape's sake along the wall. That was October by Robert Frost, who is a New England native, no longer alive. This episode of the Tuesday Telecast, which is, we are in our 5th season, and it is the 16th episode. I can hardly believe it, the 16th episode of this season. There are a lot of videos out there, and that is kind of a cool thing. I've had so many people on here, and they're all people who, in one way or another, are taking the joyful path because they've lifted themselves up from something else. And they're lifting others now. And so I want to talk about the light in the dark. Nothing is as it may seem. And these people who've been on my show, some of them seem super happy, and we don't know what it is they've gone through. And we probably all know people like that in our lives, and we have perhaps been that person ourselves. And then there are others that we hear, and we know all of their adversity because they wear it right on their sleeve. And their goal is to lift others. We say, oh, they are the ones truly suffering. And maybe they are. And maybe the silent ones are truly suffering. And maybe it's just in our heads. Then you can throw rotten tomatoes at me. Anybody who knows me, uh, I've had my share of things in my life, and still, there's stuff in my head. And what I want to know is about the stuff in people's hearts. And what is the light in the dark? How do we find it? I'm going to read another poem, again, by Robert Frost. And this one is a different, has a different vibe to it. It's called My November Guest. November is coming. However, this is about the words that are written here. So, bear with me. It goes like this. My sorrow, when she's here with me, thinks these dark days of autumn rain are as beautiful as days can be. She loves the bare, weird tree. She walks the sodden pasture lane. Her pleasure will not let me stay. She talks, and I am fain to list. She's glad the birds are gone away. She's glad her simple worsted gray is silver now, with clinging mist. The desolate, deserted trees, the faded earth, the heavy sky, the beauties she so truly sees, she thinks I have no eye for these, vexes me for reason why. Not yesterday I learned to know the love of bare November days, before the coming of the snow. But it were vain to tell her so, and they are better for her praise. I'm going to read that one more time just because it's short, and so you can actually hear and get an impression of what's going on, or what may be going on in here. My sorrow, when she's here with me, thinks these dark days of autumn rain are as beautiful as days can be. She loves to bear the withered tree. She walks the sodden pasture lane. Her pleasure will not let me stay. She talks, and I am fain to list. She's glad the birds have gone away. She's glad her simple worsted gray is silver now with clinging mist. The desolate, deserted trees, the faded earth, the heavy sky, the beauties she so truly sees, she thinks I have no eye for these and vexes me for reason why. Not yesterday I learned to know the love of bare November days, before the coming of the snow, but it were vain to tell her so, and they are better for her praise. I want to give a shout out to Uganda. We've got Uganda in the house. Thank you for tuning in from Uganda. And here we are reading some poetry of Robert Frost. So I want to kind of look at this. This strikes me as something that may come across to some of you as being really sort of taciturn, is a word I've been using lately. Sort of looking at a darker side of life. And these are kind of like the people I was talking about before. We're looking at the desolate, deserted trees, the faded earth, the heavy skies. And she sees these as beauty. And she doesn't think that the writer sees this as at all beautiful. And the writer doesn't want to say that I actually see these beauties for what they are myself. And I I have I may have awe with the bright and I may have awe with the dark, and but I'm not going to tell you about those. I'm just going to keep it to myself because I want to hear you. And that's just the thing. How do we show up? How do we look at what is present, what we think is present, what is actually present, and what is past in people that we think should be present? Who is actually seeing more awe by being glad the birds have gone away? I love birds. I love birds with all my heart. I really get this poem because by taking the birds, which focus my vision and my awe and my love, by taking these birds away, suddenly we can see the simple worsted gray. This is her, like, gray like I'm wearing right now, wool. And the clinging mist on it is beautiful to her. So she loves the sheen of that. And she perhaps she may not notice it if she's distracted by the birds. She's glad the birds are gone away so that she can notice the mist on her clothing and the pleasure that she has in it. She walks a sodden pasture lane. Why? Is it because she wants to be soggy? And who knows? And if she wants to be soggy, does that mean that she is sad? Or does that mean that she's in awe? Does that mean we don't know? If someone is emoting, they may be going through growth, they may be going through hardship, they may be going through sadness. They may just be passing through and they may recover. They may not. How does it feel? And where is your light? Our light is present in the darkness for every one of us, wherever we are. And I'd love to hear your comments on where you see light in the darkness. How is it that some people who are so quiet, so dour, so taciturn, might actually have more light in their lives than those who are constantly putting out joy and brightness and smiles? There's something to each of these things. The smiles that we give, bring smiles back, help people who aren't feeling smiles, who are feeling really hurt in their heart, in their soul, in their mind. Maybe just have fires in their mind that would be really nice to escape from. And when we smile, mirror neurons cause them to smile back, maybe, and they may not have smiled otherwise. And they may say, yeah, there's good in the world. There's not just the fires in my mind. And are the fires in my mind real? Or are they past? Were they ever real as a way to hurt me? Or was it a lesson from which I grew? We can set off all these thoughts for people when we get them out of their heads by smiling, right? So that's a great thing. What about the people who also quietly bring us in and say, look at this darkness. Look at it. Look at that bare tree. How can you not see the beauty here? Everything is beautiful to someone, and everything is love to someone. And we don't have to subscribe to anyone else's form of love or happiness, because it starts in our hearts and our connection in the way that we show up in the world and our connection to the light. We can find the light when we actually take a moment to listen, to observe, and to be quiet and check out the quiet people. So, good morning, Dr. Marcia. It's good to see you here. We're talking about poetry that brings us to look at dark things and at awe and at the loveliness of autumn and at the darkness of autumn, and how those people who look at the darkness and seem sort of down sometimes have a really bright light inside of them. So, the last poem I read, I am going to read it yet again because I think, I'm talking about how this brings us to our understanding of ourselves and how it lets us see other people in another light. My sorrow, when she's here with me, thinks these dark days of autumn rain are beautiful as days can be. She loves the bare, the withered tree. She walks the sodden pasture lane. Her pleasure will not let me stay. She talks and I am fain a list. She's glad the birds are gone away. She's glad her simple worsted gray is silver now with clinging mist. The desolate, deserted trees, the faded earth, the heavy sky, the beauties she so truly sees. She thinks I have no eye for these, and vexes me for reason why. Not yesterday I learned to know the love of bare November days, before the coming of the snow, but it were vain to tell her so, and they are better for her praise. I also just adore these words, and the lovely simpleness of them. And let's look at the other side of this now. It's recognized that she sees these beauties and that the readers or the writers, who is Robert Frost, I'll repeat that. This is my November guest by Robert Frost, that the writer is made better for hearing her praise of the mist clinging to her wool, for hearing her praise of the bare withered trees and of the dark skies. And the writer has their own sense of awe about these things, has actually noticed them, but it's assumed by her, he thinks, that she doesn't think he sees this stuff at all. And he loves hearing what she has to say about it. Now, there's a flip side to this. Maybe if, while she's vexing him for reason why he doesn't see these things, he may be not answering because he does see these things and he doesn't want to argue about it. He does see these things, but he wants to hear her. He does see these things, but he loves to keep them by himself. And that it's actually his ego that's in the way if he tells her this. Is it ego or is it communication? I wrote something that I posted today that touches on the ego that we that keeps us in the way of connection. It gets in the way of our connection and our healing. It really points to what we think is going on in people, what we think they don't see, what we think they do see, what we see, what they think we see. And really, what we know is ourselves and our connection. And in that beauty, in that connection, there's the silver clinging to the wool. And that is a connection. That is a connection to awe, to beauty, to source, to God, to family, to birth, to whatever it is. That is light in the darkness for this person. Not, this is somebody who is, as I've said, possibly dour and taciturn, but this is a window into their heart. So I have another poem here, and I'm going to look at this poem by Mario de Andrade, and this is a beautiful, I'm trying to see where the poem actually starts. My soul is in a hurry. I counted my years and discovered that I now have less time left to live than I had lived until now. I feel like the kid who won a pack of candy. He ate the first few with pleasure, but when he realized there were few left, he began to savor them deeply. And then I can't see the rest of it. There's an appreciation in this. There's an appreciation in the finding of the candy, which is the metaphor for everything else that we have gotten that is quick, that is hedonistic, that is shiny. And if you've heard me before, you know that I think there's a place for hedonism. I don't think it is it has diminishing returns for a reason, but it piques our interest and our curiosity and can move us either toward or away from something, toward the better. And if it weren't for this bag of candy that we ate all of, and when there were just, we wouldn't have that moment of, oh, there are so few. I want to preserve this. And what is that growth in what we want to preserve? And where is the lesson? And how do we know that other people who are chowing down junk food are not going through the same thing, or something else that we haven't thought of? As it's very arrogant when we think that we know what's best for everyone. And I do it too. I mean, we all do it, but it's this part of our ego that wants to help and is in order to see how we can help, we might judge. And this doesn't mean we're judging forever, but we're thinking, oh, they don't see this, but they might see something that we don't see. And that is light in this foggy, shady place. We don't have it. We get blinded. We get blinded by blame. We get blinded by ego. And yet we have the ability to set these aside. It's okay. We can do this with an exploration of what is it that they see, and how do I know what they see. Sometimes we have shared visions. We go to hear a inspirational speaker, and while we might not hear that inspirational speaker all the same, we are being inspired by that singular energy and those words. We may be part of something collectively as a family of followers, as a family of worshipers, as a family who is intending very specifically to uplift and uphold and to love and to transcend. And when we have this feeling that we have together, we have a shared experience. There's still our own, we still may have our ego in the way. For sure, it's there somewhere. The more we allow it to soften, the more we can appreciate those things that we don't otherwise see, because we assume that what we don't see is something we do see, that we know what's there. And the moment we know, we're done. We don't have supreme knowledge. The more we open up and listen to the time of an older person, to the time of a younger person, to the light of a person who likes the damp and the darkness, to the quiet and the sound of a person who likes loud noise. We think we know. And part of what we know is we do know something. We can't be sure that what we have thought, what's really going on. And, to go further down this rabbit hole, which I was really not going to go to, but I'm just going to mention that this affects us this affects the medical industry, right? We have, some doctors are very open to hearing and really hearing what's going on. Some systems don't allow the time to listen to what's going on. And if it's a triage situation, then some assumptions may save lives, right? And without this help, the lives wouldn't be saved. So we do have reactions for a reason. But when there's time, which there is time, in this life, for us to show up, for us to help, for us to listen. And in the medical industry, when we listen, we usually get better care. We usually find that many different things cause similar symptoms. If we think this is what's going on with this because this person is female, because this person is Asian, this person is black, because this person is a white male, because this person is cisgender, because this person is transgender. This is what's going on with them. And it blocks what it is, how people get cared for. And people have mentioned this out in the world, that they're not heard. And this is just part of the same conversation. It's just being human. And it hurts people. It does hurt people. That hurt is a lesson in itself too. It doesn't mean there isn't care. There are barriers to this care, and there are barriers to us seeing one another. When we lift the barriers by just quieting ourselves and saying, I don't know, let me listen, we get to see more types of light, more types of beauty, more types of connection, more tenderness, and more ability to transcend our pain, which is very limited, that we have in our time on this earth. It feels like a lot. I've been there. It feels like a lot. But still, I've had a lot more life without pain. And if I keep those fires in my head, or I think that everybody else has fires in my head, I miss out on the points of light. And that's okay, because we'll get them later. But imagine if we just remove our ego and connect to the light now. Imagine how much more we see in all the beauties that are out there, and all the connection. I'm going to read another. I'm just going to stay on Robert Frost here for a minute. This is a kind of a fun and short poem. This one I've also written music to. So, and I'm just going to read it. It's called "To the Thawing Wind." So we've moved ahead to we're in the southern hemisphere. This is where we're at now, and in the northern hemisphere, this is going to be a few months from now. But to the thawing wind, come with rain, O loud southwester. Bring the singer, bring the nester. Give the buried flower a dream. Make the settled snowbank steam. Find the brown beneath the white. But whatever you do tonight, bathe my window, make it flow. Melt it as the ice will go. Melt the glass and leave the sticks like a hermit's crucifix. Burst into my narrow stall, swing the pictures on the wall. Run the rattling pages o'er. Scatter poems on the floor. Turn the poet out of door. I love this because there's a questioning of our own being stuck inside and what we don't see. And it says, hey, get me out of here. I need to see. And this is another just metaphor for all that we go through. Like, how can we call for our own loud southwester. Come with rain, O loud southwester, bring the singer, bring the nester, give the buried flower a dream, make the settled snowbank steam, find the brown beneath the white. And why would we want to do this but to just wash away and find the new? And this isn't just with us. There's new in everybody. It's not as we think. It may not be as it seems. So melt the ice, scatter the poems on the floor, throw the poet out, make the poet see. How can we make ourselves see? This is a lifelong question. And this isn't just about having, good vision with your glasses or without your glasses or having any vision at all. It's how do we feel the love that surrounds us? How do we know that someone else is not feeling it? How do we affect that relationship? One thing that's in our power to do is to share the love and to not assume whether the person has no love or does have love, whether the person recovers quickly or is in constant suffering, whether the person does not see the light or whether they do. To listen and to connect and to feel and share the light and to share the love never hurts. Sharing love is listening. Sharing love is putting our ego gently to the side, softly in our pocket, reverently on the shelf, just giving our ego love and saying, right now, I'm going forth to see what I don't know. And I'm doing so with love. I'm going to end this with one more reading of October because this is right where we are and it's so lovely. So here's the poem, October. O hushed October morning mild, thy leaves have ripened to the fall. Tomorrow's wind, if it be wild, should waste them all. The crows above the forest call, tomorrow they may form and go. O hushed October morning mild, begin the hours of this day slow. Make the day seem to us less brief. Hearts not averse to being beguiled, beguile us in the way you know. Release one leaf at break of day, at noon release another leaf, one from our trees, one far away. Retard the sun with gentle mist, enchant the land with amethyst. Slow, slow, for the grape's sake, if they were all, whose leaves already are burnt with frost, whose clustered fruit may else be lost. For the grape's sake, along the wall. I hope that you all find your beauty in the leaves burnt with frost. Find your beauty in the bare, the withered tree. Find your light in the brown beneath the white, where wherever you are is there's light in the darkness around you, in the rain, in the bear, in the cold. And each person's light and their ability to see it is not as it may seem. So, as you go forth and see the sorrow, see the dark days of autumn, walk the sodden pasture lane, and see beauty there. Don't assume you've seen all the beauty. Revel in it. And then be open to more. I appreciate you, and I am sending my love from Vermont, in the capital in the United States, where I live, and the leaves are turning late. I will see you next week for episode 17 of season 5, and we will have more people back on the show. But for now, if you know somebody who would like to be here, or you know somebody who has lifted you in your life, in your community, in your church, in your work, in your family, and you think that they would be a good candidate for being on this show and showing how they've lifted themselves, they've been lifted, and how they lift others, please shoot me a message. You can put a message below. You can connect with me above. You can we can have a conversation. I appreciate you. If you have not subscribed, please gently push the subscribe button. And of course, if you liked it, hit like and share this with someone you think would resonate with this. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next week. Ciao.